everybody. This is Zach Houghton and Bob Alejo. This is the Between the Sets podcast. This is episode number 3. And today we are going to talk about coaching coaches. Coaching coaches. Coach.
Yes.
You and I talk quite a bit, and I see quite a bit of your Facebook post and your Twitter and everything that you got going on. And man, you're, as I think we all are, I think we're all passionate about, making sure that we're all doing the right things. But man, you are passionate about, just making sure that everybody knows, and everybody knows what we do need to do. And you're not afraid to put your opinion out there. And as you and I were talking before the show started, I think coaching is the least coached profession that's out there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, man?
Well, look, I think any time that you're in a situation, whether you're an assistant or a director of strength and conditioning, you're always in a position to be modeling. It's like being a parent. You really don't have time off, minutes off. Everything you do sets the pace for somebody else to look at, whether they're coaches or not. So you have to hold yourself to a certain standard that you would accept from not only yourself, but from somebody that's in your charge. And so, I think when you're on the floor and in the program, you're coaching coaches all the time. Because at some point, you're going to go from 25 to 35 and from 35 to 45, and like in my case, 45 to 65. And so, you've laid a mark somewhere along the line. So, again, I've said this a million times, and I think people are starting to understand clearer and clearer that sets and reps, program design, that's the easiest thing we'll ever do.
The easiest.
Without question. But the other part is, how do you hold yourself? How do you hold yourself? What's that look like to somebody? And that becomes everything from, is your shirt tucked in, to do you say yes, ma'am, and no, sir? If that's the way you do it. So I think coaching coaches is, to me, much like parenting, because somebody's always watching you, dude. And you never know who knows who, especially in this world. And you brought this up earlier about social media, especially in this world of social media where everybody's got a picture, everybody's got a phone, and everybody's got a camera. So you got to be careful. Why not just hold yourself to just a normal standard, like, this is who I am?
Yeah, and I think and I like what you say about, you're always coaching coaches because, especially if you're in that director role, you're always going to be in a position to be able to coach the people that work with you.
Yep.
But my thing is like, like I said before the show started, is we had this guy named Brian Kite come in, and Coach Gregory brought him in, and man, it was fantastic to be able to actually, I can't remember the last time that, sometimes people bring people in and they talk to the whole athletic department and you're just kind of like blah because they're awful. And this guy was not that. And it kind of changed the way that I looked at things a little bit because, he talked about, this generation and how they're not any different than the generations of the past, right? It's just a different perspective in the way. Every generation has always been a little bit different while being the same. And, one thing that he kept on hitting as is everything is extremely simple. It's the people make it complicated, and that it's all about the event and the response that you give it. And I think that as coaches, every single day we got that choice, right? We got the choice to choose our response.
Gotcha.
To what other coaches and what we have to bring to the table. And I think that I know that sometimes I don't choose the right. And I think that sometimes these coaches get caught in that whirlwind a little bit.
I would agree. So I think, and Brian Gregory, who you mentioned, who I know, being formerly in the ACC, I think he's done the right thing there. So let's just take him, for instance, just knowing who he is and the way he treated me on the court, knowing that I was a strength and conditioning coach for the team and not a basketball coach, said hi to me every day, shook my hand before and after games. that says something about him. And I think other coaches should watch that, and I think they do. The way he dresses, the way he acts. So it doesn't surprise me that he would bring somebody in that would do that. But, you make a fantastic point about how you react and how you either pull yourself up by the bootstraps or continue this consistent delivery of somebody with integrity. I got told by somebody years ago about your actions on the floor or, while you're coaching a session, whether it be outside or not. They would say to me, how would you coach if one of your mentors, somebody you respected, was supervising you, watching you, everything that you did? How would you react? How would you coach? And that's a great point. Would you do some of the stuff that you do every day? If, for me, it would be Al Vermeil, Bob Ward. If they were watching you, would you think they'd think that was a good job? I think that's something that it's a nice little reminder of how you carry yourself during the day.
Yeah, and it's an excellent topic. It's just like, like myself is our staff is always, and this is like what you just talked about is like, I believe that Coach Gregory is always coaching coaches without him even realizing he's doing it.
Right.
And one of those things is he always is around. You know what I mean? And and that holds you as a coach accountable. And because you're not, when you find a tendency that when people aren't around, you think it's normal human nature to let that guard down a little bit. And what I've gathered is like even when people aren't around, like I got to keep doing the same thing because that's just the way you do it.
I would agree. So I think what you're also mentioning is personalities and demeanors, and we see lots of different ways guys hold themselves. I would just say this in kind of a final observation of what we're talking about. At some point, you're cutting your teeth on how you're going to do your business, programming, presence, all that stuff. If you have to be constantly reminded in your mind what to do and how to do it, instead of it being second nature, then all you're doing is performing. You're a performer. You're an actor. And I think all of us are a little bit taken aback, if not disappointed, with those who are two different sorts of people, right? You have this actor on the floor, this actor on the field, this actor in the weight room or whatever, and then you have this totally different other person. I think if you just are yourself and you're loyal and you act with integrity, I don't think you need much more than that, do you?
No, I think that's the basics that we're all supposed to be built on, right?
Yeah. So I'd like to think that by now I've got this thing down, at least in my own way of how I want to do. And it's, I've oftentimes thought to myself, would I let my child talk to me the way this athlete's speaking to me, or would I let this athlete speak to me the way you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you got to sometimes think to yourself, would I allow this to happen in my family, with my friends? Is this the way I would treat them, act to them, think of them? I think a lot of that carries into the weight room.
Yeah, I think a lot of people lose sight of that a little bit sometimes. You know what I mean? It's
no question.
Because they kind of go off either one extreme. They go extremely soft, or they go. There's not a lot of coaches that I've seen that can meet right in the middle.
I would agree. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's right.
Absolutely, 100%. So if you could look back, and some of the stuff you do now, what's some of the stuff that you did, while you were a director to coach the coaches?
Well, I think what you need to do is just, again, like I said, just be a model of what you want to be replicated. So, you want to coach people the way you want your assistants and people who are looking to you for guidance coach. You want to talk to athletes and coaches and administrators the same way that you'd like others to do for you under your care. So I don't think there's any other any other way to do it but to be the example. And I don't think it's leader by example. I think it's leader by activity. And that way it becomes a standard, right? And as I said many times before, a standard can't be a standard unless it's done all the time. You just can't make it up or draw upon something to say this is our standard and know that that's not what you've been doing. But once you end up doing that sort of thing, it's easy to talk to your staff or your administrators and say, that's not what we do. This is what we do. And the reason you're able to say that is because it's true.
Because it's an action, right? You gotta lead by action.
Yep.
Now that's something that's one thing that I've heard a couple times in the last month or so is like when they talk about staff and they talk about the way things are is obviously you want to be selfless. Obviously you want to put the larger picture in front of what you want as an individual. But I think that the one term that I've heard quite a bit is we want you to be you, right? We want you to be who you are. We want you to be who you are as an individual, who you're going to be. But you've got to align with us. You've got to align with the standards. You got to align with the vision. You got to align with all those things. Don't change who you are.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you got to align with what we got going on.
I'd agree, my man. I would absolutely agree.
And I think that's important to coach people up on also, because I think sometimes we ask people to be people that they're not.
Right. I think, yeah. No, I would agree.
So, but I know you got places to be, man. I know you got things to do, so we'll keep this one to a short one today. But I appreciate you coming on, Coach.
Coach, my pleasure always. I love these discussions. They set the tone for my day.
So, all right, Coach. You have a good day.
All right. Take care.